Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Unbreakable Spirit. I'm Cindy Ames, and I'm happy you decided to join us on this journey of resilience. If you're new to the show, I'm Michael's wife and the co host, and my job is to be the guide, um, to ask questions that the audience may be thinking and help us pull out the lessons from the raw truth of this story. Today, we are diving deep into the survival instincts and the aftermath of crime. Michael's story of surviving a catastrophic fall and forging a new life gives him a perspective you simply won't hear anywhere else. Our goal is to always to shine a light on the hard truth, but most importantly, show you that your past does not define your future. We ended up last time talking about Michael going on a long police chase and into a home, got hit in the back of the head with a baseball bat by the homeowner as he was leaving, shot 5 times, and kind of just laid there on the concrete, waiting to see what's going to happen next. So, Mike, I know that you probably don't remember a lot. I'm sure that it was chaos, and I'm sure there was just so much pain, and your body was probably just in shock, and your mind as well. But can you kind of describe to us what you were feeling at that time?
Pretty numb at the time. To look back now, to run into somebody's home or being in a shootout, it's all just surreal at this point. But it was actual. Your state of mind that you're in is, I don't know if there's a term for it. Is in some kind of psychosis, I would think, because you don't think rationally. There's no rational decision making at all.
Well, you had mentioned that that there was a time when after they had shot you, that you kind of felt a little bit of peace. I mean, you were so close to death.
Oh, I believe that to be the case. I remember laying there and I couldn't breathe, and I just relaxed. That was the last thing I remember. Excruciating pain before that, between a baseball bat, and you just go numb there, and the bullets. It's undescribable pain until the point where you just go numb and you don't feel it. And that's what I say when the peace comes over you, I think, is when the body goes numb. And you just think you've taken your last breath. A surreal feeling, but it's a peaceful feeling. It was. And the next thing I remember, I woke up in the hospital. Don't remember any in-betweens that at all.
Do you remember when you woke up? Who was around you? Was any of your family there?
It was horrible. And maybe just in their eyes, but I remember the first thing when I opened my eyes, there was an officer sitting there, and he looked at me, and he got about 2 inches from my face, and he says, "Die, you piece of shit." And I says, "What?" It was undescribable, and he just told me, "I hope you die for what you've done, you piece of shit. I mean it." And I was like, "Oh, shit, what?" At that point, I remember the nurse coming in after he was making those threats at me, and it was all just undescribable, the thoughts.
And I'm assuming at this point you're like hooked up to all kinds of things.
I'm hooked up to everything.
But they probably got you strapped down to the bed.
Yeah, I was handcuffed to the bed. I was, and to kind of elaborate on that a little bit. I told the nurse when she came in, I said, "Hey, this guy's threatening." And she says, "Oh, no, these are just officers in here. They're fine." I remember when she left the room, the officer stood up and got right at the end of my nose and says, "You think I'm lying, you son of a bitch," and clamped my wrist to the bed and cinched my handcuff real tight. He said, "You think I'm full of shit? Try me." And I remember laying in that room with those guys, and he wouldn't even acknowledge me. Anytime he said something, I was a piece of shit. I truly felt that way. I truly started to believe that I was. I've come to the realization, once I woke up.
Life has changed from this point.
My life's pretty much over, was at that. And at that point, you're Your feelings of empathy, your feelings of caring are just, you just grow hard. You grow hard. It's horrible. It's a horrible state of mind to be in.
On the pain, I'm sure that the pain is excruciating.
Well,
So at that point, they had you into surgery already and had done any surgery
yeah,
at that point?
I've done surgeries, and I was in bad shape, man. It was very painful, because being inmate at that point or incarcerated, you're limited on the pain medication that they give you. So they give you the very minimal, but pretty excruciating, the pain, and then the mental aspect of it all. Horrible. Terrific.
Was any of your family able to even come up?
Took a while, and then they allowed my family to come in.
But that was tough. Tough for you, tough for them.
Oh.
Disbelief.
Yeah, it was very tough to look at anybody. I'm very fortunate that nobody was hurt, because that could have easily been the case. Whether it was in the police chase, it was in the home I entered, anybody at any time could have been hurt terribly in a police chase and shooting, and yeah, pretty tough to recap.
So you were shot 5 times. So obviously you've got 5 different gunshot wounds. What was the extent of each of those? I'm definitely been called a medical miracle by the physicians, everyone who's seen me. So, but the impact of the pain that you suffer is not humanly possible in my mind. Now I can think back at it, the pain that I was in. But as far as like the bullets, you had a couple of
bullets
right on your spine.
I had one hit me in just that one didn't go in very far, and they don't know why it didn't. And then I had one hit me in the hip, and it shattered my hip. And boy, that was excruciating pain. And then I remember the one he shot me in the back, it just lifted me off the ground, knocked the wind out of me. I remember putting me face down on the ground. They were just saying a .40 caliber Glock hollow point bullet it's impossible. It's impossible that bullet traveled less than 2 inches in soft tissue and stopped 1 millimeter off your spine and didn't kill you. It's basically the bullet stopped in midair.
Wow.
I had another bullet on the back that hit me in the lower spine, and they took it out like a slot machine. They just pulled it straight out of my lower back, and it was flattened out. It looked like dynamo frayed around the edges, but it came out just like a slot. So it had flattened out on the bottom of my spine. That one too got me too. It's just absolutely incredible. And he shot me when I was down. He shot me in the butt twice, and those are the ones that really caused me a lot of problems, because when those bullets hit my buttocks, they crossed and they blew up. The whole points exploded, and therefore spread feces everywhere. So I was way prone to infection, and I got some serious infections in it, and it turned into what they call a fistula, a big hole they couldn't plug, and it just kept reopening, and they hooked me up to a colostomy bag, so I had a colostomy bag at that time.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. It's unbelievable that your body endured all of that and still kept going. You've got 5 bullet shots, and you've got infection running rampant through your body. Now you're incontinent. You can't even go to the bathroom on your own, so you have to have a colostomy bag. How many surgeries did they end up doing?
Quite a few, just while I was in the McCady Hospital. That's where I initially took me. 3 or 4.
Wow.
Just to keep me alive, but I remember laying in that bed, the pain I was in, and I remember this big guy always walking, big bald guy, and he'd always stand at the foot of my bed, and I'd look up at him, and he'd say, "Yeah, you're gonna be mine here pretty quick. You're coming down to my jail. Don't worry, boy, I'll take good care of you." And I was just like, oh, tell you the thought process, people laying there in those circumstances, knowing that you can hardly move, you're going to jail. He felt like the Grim Reaper to me, because he would come in sporadically and check on me, because as soon as I was good enough to leave that hospital, he was taking me down to the jail. And boy, he couldn't wait to get me down there either, I'll tell you.
This was the Weber County Jail?
Weber County Jail, but he was a big guy, and I remember him always right at the foot of my bed saying, maybe another couple of days, and you're coming down to my jail.
And you said that they don't, I mean, they really limit your pain medication, obviously, because now you're a prisoner and they don't want to.
They take care of you, but they do the bare minimum.
Right.
Sure. They didn't disregard that I'm a human being. They knew I'd done some horrible stuff, but kudos to the medical field. I mean, they don't judge you.
Yeah.
They take care of you. But anyway, I became pretty good friends with the officers that were in there because I'd seen them every day, and I'd known them for a month and a half or so. I think I was in there 5-6 weeks. But I remember coming in one day, and one of the officers says, I've been on the force for 30 years. And this is the first time I've ever regretted arresting somebody, placing under arrest. You're now going to the property of the state. You're going down to the jail.
You belong to us now.
Yeah, you basically belong.
So then you're to a point then where you're able to transport and go. I mean, not that it's comfortable, but they're taking you from the hospital, going to take you to the jail. So tell me about that ride.
It was a sense of scared. I was in a position where I couldn't even defend myself. I was physically hit. I couldn't walk. I couldn't hardly lift my arm. My strength, I had none. But to go into a place like that when you are in the condition you're in, and that was just the first trip there. That was to the initial jail, which was horrific. But the physical condition I was in, I was sick all the time. I had no strength. Everyone who was listening to know that is, to be in that condition and have those kind of charges, it's an indescribable, horrific feeling. And I remember going to the jail. They just put me in a little tiny cell, all isolated, and I was in there for months. But I remember one incident where they come by the window and they give you the medication, your painkillers, and they'd give me some to sleep because I couldn't sleep at night. So I remember that it was a Friday and the med tech come by and she gave me all my meds. I was taking 10 meds, a whole bunch. Well, anyway, they had some sleeping pills and it was 4 o'clock and I wanted to save them for the night. So I turned around and set them on my sink. And she thought I was cheeking. They call it cheeking your meds, you save them and then sell them later, whatever the case. And I just did it because I was tired and pulled my meds from me, said I was trying to cheek them and started screaming at me. I says, hey, just don't want to take them now. I'll take them later. She goes, no, you'll take them now. You cheeking. You're not getting. So that being said, I'd only been there for probably 5 days. And she pulled my medication. And I remember I've never been that much pain. I went the whole weekend without any pain meds. Wow. The pain and I kept telling them, and they said that they're not allowed to give me any on the nurse's order, that I was in so much pain I couldn't breathe. I was actually bawling. Horrific. I remember my brother, luckily I had a visit that Monday morning. My brother came. They hauled me down there and I was just shaking. In so much pain. It was indescribable. And there's nobody who cares. There's nobody you can't say, hey, they don't care. They don't, I mean, it's a medical place. They take care of you, but they don't care about stuff like that. They think you're trying to get more, Anyway, I'll have a lot of that to talk about. I went through in there, but I remember that one weekend. I remember my brother flipped. I could hear him yelling at the officers. What do you mean he ain't had no pain meds for the weekend since last Friday? He was screaming. They immediately ran me some pain medication in. I got to tell you, there was not a better feeling. I was in so much. It was so painful I couldn't even hardly walk. It was excruciating. But I'm the one who got me in this position. So. All right. But these are the things you endure that are indescribable. It's about as horrible as it could be.
Let's skip forward a little bit. And let's talk about when your court date rolled around. You're at the Weaver County Jail. I'm assuming you had an attorney.
Had a public defender.
And they kind of gave you that roundabout. This is how it's going to be. This is what's going to happen from here.
Yeah. And it was just a lot of trips in that condition from jail to court. And I remember at the final one, I remember it was very hard for me because I've been shot in the ass. But twice, so I couldn't sit. I had to stand. And I remember the day that they went into sentencing. Absolutely terrified, knowing that, hoping that something great's going to happen.
God's going to have a little bit of mercy on you.
Yeah, and I remember it was very difficult for me. I think I walked down there and seen my wife and all my family sitting there. And I can't tell you the feeling when he looks at you and he says, it's hard for me to believe that you're alive, Mr. Hank, but 5 bullets from a 40. And he says, I don't want to exclude the baseball bat. Shouldn't be here. And I was thinking, oh God, please show me some mercy. Because I was so sick. I remember that day. I was very ill. I had some infections, and I remember just kind of my knees were shaking sitting at the podium. And then I remember him saying, as hard as this is for me, Mr. Ames, I have no choice but to give you a 5 to life, and we're going to enhance that a year because you had a facsimile of a weapon, which is going to be another year onto your charge. So I have no choice but to give you a sentence of no less than 6 years and no more than, which would be 99 years in the state penitentiary, Mr. Ames. And from here on, the Board of Pardons will decide your fate. I remember I felt like falling out. I knew I was doing 6 years, minimum, and I couldn't wrap my mind around. And then I remember the public defender told him, would you hold on and leave him in there for a minute? I want to talk to him before he takes off. So they put me in the holding cell. And public defender, to this day, I still think he just did. I don't left me in that cell. And they left me in there for 2 hours waiting for him. Matter of fact, the van left and went back to the jail, and they had to make another trip to come back to get me. Because they forgot I was in there. He was supposed to talk to me.
Oh.
I was in so much pain I couldn't sit down. I hadn't had my meds because I was there longer.
So to freaking stand and waiting.
I felt like they were just every chance they could. They were making it difficult or trying to make me endure as much pain as I can endure. But these are the things that happen when you put yourself in that position. Their mercy, and whether they're intentionally do it or not, you're the one that's feeling the physical repercussions of it. I remember I couldn't sit down. And so I was kneeling down on a nasty, dirty floor, leaning on the bench, just excruciating pain. Anyway, they come and got me and hauled me back to jail. And I remember the disappointment the next day. They took me up to the doctor, and he said, he's may need another surgery. Probably better do it tomorrow, because I kept getting infected. And then I was planning on going to surgery. Next thing I know, I remember looking, and they said, roll up. You're going down to the prison. I was supposed to say, he says, no, they'll deal with you down there.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Not even wanting to get up when you're that sick. Can hardly stand up, and you're just nauseous, and you're in pain, and knowing where you're going. Nobody can even wrap their mind around it.
No.
When I was driving down the freeway looking at some things I'm not going to see for a long time, and maybe the last time I see them. Pretty unbearable trip all the way down to prison. I remember getting down there and pulling through these big gates, man. And I was just shaking. I was in such bad shape. And I remember that second gate closing and just going down this long road and pulling up to that prison. It took me down a van. Usually they do it with groups of people. They wanted to avoid having to do surgeries on me, so they were going to let the prison take it.
Wow.
Upward from there. So I was kind of caught in the mist, what they decide to do. And I'm the one paying for it.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm the one that got me there, too. But,
wow.
Man, I'll never forget going in that. And they take you in a place called You Win a 5. And you walk in there, and it's just bars. It was the old death row. Man, it's literally like the zoo. It's just a little hallway, and there's just cells. Top and bottom, all the way down, just 2 floors of cells.
Wow.
And you can every kind of inmate, you can hear them yelling at you, whistling at you, and you have to walk past those cells, and you just look in there, and you just see guys the type of people you have never seen, that you're not used to.
Yeah. Something even the movies can't even describe.
A lot of it's accurate, I believe it.
Yeah.
But to actually live that and be in that condition and walk down that hall and hear those guys calling you a fish and da-da-da. But then they take in this place called the library, and it's a holding place they put you in. And then they figure there's all these cells they got H, L, J, when I think I was in H, which was called the fish tank, because with the charges I had, they put me in there. It was the worst of the worst. I was on aggravated charges that put me at that level, so I went in as level 1, and
so
I was with some heavy hitters.
When they did your sentencing, I know you remember, but what exactly did they charge you with? What were your charges?
First charges that they gave me were 2 counts of first-degree aggravated robbery, 2 counts of first-degree aggravated burglary, 2 counts of first-degree aggravated assault, and 1 count of kidnapping, which is a 15 to life.
Wow.
They told me in court that those are the worst charges you can possibly have without cold-blooded murder.
Wow.
Premeditated.
And the kidnapping charge was because the lady that you took her car.
Yes, I did walk from her porch to her car. And they figured that with me having a gun, that they had kidnapping on that.
Wow.
Wow.
Dang.
That could have been a big one.
Yeah.
But once again, these are the position I put myself in.
Right.
And I put them in. They didn't ask for any of it,
Just goes to show how quickly your life can unravel. Making one bad decision or being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or it's just crazy how it escalated from something that seemed like it wasn't a major thing to that, and it just kept going. And it just went from one to the next, and then getting shot and surgeries, and oh gosh, I just can't even imagine the pain and how scared. You have to be scared. I mean, you just want to give up, I'm sure.
And then I remember they took me from the library, put me in the fish tank, and just a bunch of cells. And there's like 4 on each side, and it's, like I said, it's the old death row. It's the old cells. The paint's chipping off the bars, and it's just cold,
And just so everybody knows, this was down in Draper.
This is in Draper.
Before they knocked it. Now it's not there anymore.
My initial intake, yeah. And into that place, and it was horrifying, horrific to be in that condition. And I just remember them taking me down to that cell, and then they opened the doors, and there's one shower, and they tell everybody to go get cleaned up and get showered, and
were you willing to? Yeah, I'm gonna say, were you able to walk at that time on your own?
Very good, but they with the colostomy bag, I couldn't defend myself, and they figured out to be a hostile environment.
Wow.
Because those colostomy bags smell, and people that have them don't fare very well. People in there don't care about your medical condition; they care about the smell. Believe
they're already
in the worst point of their life. They could care about your medical issues. It means nothing to them. And it was a horrible place, I remember. And I was just sitting in there behind those bars in the condition I was in. I just was trying to convince myself I'm going to make this. And then I remember the cop coming in. I'd forgot he was supposed to tell him I needed colostomy bags. That was the biggest issue I had in that prison then. But it started with the colostomy bags. And they had this guy in there that ran the intake, and he was just like a drill sergeant. His yell voice, and I ain't your mama. You could hear him like, you're mine now, the real deal, man. And so he opened the thing, get your ass out here, and was yelling at me all the way down the hall about, I ain't your mama. You get your damn colostomy bags. I'm not here to order your shit for you.
Wow.
Yelling at me all the way down the hall. Here I am. It was horrific, intimidating. It was disbelief. It was undescribable. But remember,
they just feel helpless in every way.
He took me down back to the cell, and then I remember him coming up and saying, we're leaving. And I was like, we're going down the infirmary. You need to be checked out, and you need to be monitored, so you're going to stay in the infirmary. I was like, oh, my God, because I'd been in there when they initially brought me in. They brought me in there and gave me some meds, and then they took me to R&O, to their receiving cells. But they said I was going back there, and with that, I was like, oh, thank God. There's no way I could have made it in here. Well, when I get down to the infirmary, it ain't the nice beds I was looking for, the nice hospital bed. They said, being a level 1, you're not allowed to stay here in the infirmary. So we've got a nice place to you. And I remember the officer going, welcome back to prison in the worst possible way, huh? And I go, hey, I've never been here. You got me mixed up with somebody else.
He thought you were there before.
Yeah, yeah, must have looked like somebody, but that's what he told me. I remember they said, you're going to have to stay in here. And they took me down this hallway, and my ankles were shackled, and I'm just getting used to walking like that. And I was all shot up, and they had me, well, when you're that level, they put a collar on you and they put the cuffs and you're all cuffed up. And I hardly walk anyway. So I remember this big metal door opening and walking down this hallway, and they just come to this. It was, there was no, wow, indescribable. And then I remember stopping at this big metal door. It was just metal doors all down this old dark hallway. I opened the door, and it was just a concrete cell, and they'd give me a pad because of my being shot in the butt.
You say a pad, like,
well, they said
half-inch pad or something?
This is the rules. You are now in the suicide watch room. It's where we put guys who try to take their life, because it's the only place we can monitor you. Being shot 5 times. This is where you're going to have to stay. And I was like, not going to make it. It was worse than where I was. It was hell on earth. I believe that to be hell. Mike being that sick, and I remember cold and shaking. I remember hearing screams in there. Somebody screaming the whole time, and driving me nuts. I didn't talk about that, but I got that at the jail too. One of the guys was, I'm not talking about that later.
Hooping and hollering and
well, possessed.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I look him in the eye. Anyway, I heard the yelling. Well, a couple days later, they come and got me. Finally out of there.
Describe the cell you were in then, like
just concrete.
The size and the
that little metal toilet and a metal sink, and it just
how big is the room?
Flat, probably 6 by 8, and it's just concrete. There's nothing in that little pad. You can't have anything in there. Blankets or anything, because and those are just the rules.
Do you have a blanket?
No, it was. So
here you are in there, laying on a pad that obviously doesn't help when you've been shot, but you don't have a blanket, and I'm assuming you're probably still full of infection and pain, so you're probably shivering and
cold,
fevers, and wow, and no blanket. That is horrible. I don't care who you are and what you've done. That's horrible. That's just inhumane.
Yeah.
So let's take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and start talking about a couple other things. Can you break for a minute?
How are we doing?
I think we're doing good.
We are?
Yeah. I get more comfortable the more you... I don't know if I haven't decided. Now I know why when they do a podcast, they sit across from each other, and the camera goes to who's talking. So they have the camera that comes on, and when you're talking, it's on you, and then it comes back. You know what I mean? Because it makes more sense just to have you in the video and have me just asking. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really need to be in it, you know? There you go. You got pie?
That kind of stuff, don't you?
Well,
pretty good.
I'm trying not to interrupt you because
the questions are...
No, honestly, it makes me sad because you've told me things and stuff, but you know, I love you. And so for me, it's like,
you do love me?
Oh, hearing it, I just want to freaking break down and cry. It's just a lot for somebody to go through, you know?
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It is. It really is unfucking believable.
Most people go to prison and they either got beat up or, you know, like they got caught doing drugs, whatever, or they killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're not beat up. They're not physically.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Shot the fuck up like that.
And I remember things you've told me, but I don't know where they fall into place. I want you to talk about when you were in that fucking cell and it was goddamn freezing cold.
Yeah, so I'm about to the suicide cell.
After you get moved out of there, that's where you went?
They were hearing them cells clicking all the way coming at yours, and then it just, when that bar shut, It's real. That shit, you're really there. As hard as it is to fathom and believe, you are in prison. God, that was horrible. Feels like being put in a box, you know. God, yeah. Oh, dude.
So from that point, they take you from there. And where do they take you next?
I told you, I remember in that room, somebody screaming the whole time in that room, and there was just a hallway full of metal rooms. When the officer come and got me a couple of days later, I said, does anybody care about that, whoever's down there screaming? He goes, nobody's in here. I go, you're kidding me, right? He goes, there are 6 rooms down here, and you're the only one down here, buddy. I said, you've got to be shitting me. There has been somebody down in that far room screaming the whole time I was in here. And he said, I was like, wow.
Were they trying to, like?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I
didn't want to. Well, I got out in the hall. I didn't hear him screaming anymore.
Wow.
And I said, there's got to be, he says, you're here. It's crazy.
Somebody?
I have no idea. I don't know if it,
Ghosts from the past. I mean,
ghosts, that could. I had no idea when he told me there was nobody in there after what I'd seen up at the county. I didn't know. I was in a whole different state of mind than we are. Rational state of mind was not
a thing.
Not a thing. Didn't exist. I was living, it was like falling down the rabbit hole. Alice in Wonderland. Same.
Wow.
That's exactly what it felt like when I look back on it. And things you didn't know existed. It was surreal. It was horrific. There was a moment I wasn't hurting. I was in pain. I was trying to adapt to my new life, and it was not a pleasant experience. But I remember the next place they took me was R&O, it's called. R&O is what they call it. It's 4 tiers of cells. And I remember walking in there, and oh my God, there were some tough people in there. I remember one guy coming up, and they were going to lock me in. They just getting ready to lock down, and I remember there were yellow warning tape on some of the cells. And the guy said, yeah, just kind of watch some of them. That guy got killed there, and one got killed there, and that guy's in the infirmary. And anywhere there was yellow tape, somebody got killed. I was like, you got to be shitting me, man.
I can't imagine.
Anyway, I could hardly walk.
So they moved you. They moved me into
another part of R&O where you're locked out all the time. They let them out, but once I got logged in, I was not allowed to be because of my condition.
Too big a risk.
People wanted my medication. They knew I was hurt pretty bad. So they take you in a little cell, and they put me on there are 4 tiers, and they put me on the 2nd tier. Still don't know why. I could hardly get up them stairs. And they put me in a cell. There was windows across. There was a whole bunch of little, like, 6x8 windows across the whole front of the building that you could see out of, the 4 tiers worth. Some of those were broken out up on the top. It was so cold in there. Winter hit.
So now these cells, how big are they? Are they about the same as the other one was, or you said about 6x8? So they're all about the same.
Yeah, they're size. Just metal. Yeah, they're just small, and they're the bars.
And you didn't have anybody in your cell with you?
No, they kept me in my cell. They kept me isolated because when that colostomy bag. Oh yeah. That colostomy bag was
horrendous.
Part was over for me. I didn't care. I was numb. I remember most colostomy bags after I'd been there a while. The guys that had them were up on their chests a little bit, up on their belly where they could flap, With me, they put it right where my stomach bends. So I could never get it to seal. There's a little wafer you put on there. Goes over your stomach. Mine would never seal right. It's like, I felt like they did it. They would tell me in there, you're the first one we've ever seen like that. And I was like, they did me as dirty as they could possibly do you.
Thought that would give you the most pain and pressure and everything else, huh? So, so that you were in that one, and then how long was you in? Was you in that?
7 months.
7 months.
Those guys are in there for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And because of my conditions, they had to keep me in there, and
So the windows were broken.
It was cold. It was just March, so it was cold still. And it was hot and cold, and I got so sick in there. It was so filthy, dirty. I been locked in there, and I remember being freezing at night. It was so cold for some reason. I don't know, it was just freezing. And I'd break ice out of the toilet. And that's how cold it was.
Shit.
It was pretty indescribable. It really was. It was
It
tough.
was so cold. The windows are broke. You're having to
I
chisel
had
the
that-
freaking
you
ice
were-
out of the
you were able-
toilet.
You were able to get some commissary. You were able to get like deodorant on commissary if you had money. So I got some deodorant and some powder and some shampoo and stuff like that. And I was trading it for warm stuff. I was trying to get thermal, you know.
Do stay warm.
Yeah, whatever, and I'd give them some stuff. They never let me out with everybody. I remember guys yelling up after I got infected really bad. Yeah. I forgot to mention the part where I had that bone. I couldn't bend my left leg at all. I thought I'd be walk with a limp the whole time because I couldn't bend. I couldn't bend over to put anything on. I couldn't. My leg was straight. My hip was straight. Just a struggle to move. But they ended up telling me that a bone had grown out of my hip when they put it back together after it got shattered. And they said because of your head trauma that you'd got from the baseball bat, that your mind, your body responds different. And so an abnormal bone grew out of my hip. And they said we have to let it fully mature before we can take the bone out, or it'll just grow back.
Yes.
So it took 1 year for that bone to grow out, but it grew 6 inches. A bone grew out of my hip was 6 inches, and it was horrible.
Like literally
Come straight out of my
out of your
hip,
hip.
and then kind of bent down, but it was just a bone that was there
Oh.
in my hip, and I was like, oh my God.
Oh wow.
But it grew out of my hip, and then eventually ended up taking it out. Learned how to bend again, but
Wow.
that first time in there when I couldn't bend and I couldn't straighten my leg and I tried to bend over to change my pants and sick, I got so infected in that arm. I was so filthy in there, just dirty and noisy, and guys at my cell saying if they all pop this door, they're going to kick my ass, take my meds. I better give them the meds I'm getting. I remember being so ill that I was so infected and laying on that metal floor looking up out of one eye. I didn't even care at that point. I was almost dead. My chest, I remember looking at my chest, and it was so infected. It was just swollen up. And my pants, they had a tube coming out my butt when I was in the hospital, and that just filled the machine up full. But when they pulled that tube out, it's called a fistula. It was a tube that came out of my butt cheek. It was trying to heal the infection and just filled my leg. It ran constantly. And they wouldn't give me a machine there, so they'd just give me change out. So they'd give me like 10 pair of changes because I was soaked all the time. And I stunk. It stunk so bad. Between the colostomy bag and that infection running. And my leg was soaked.
And you're freezing to death, but then you're wet because you're soaking your clothes from the infection.
Oh, I remember just getting so ill. I just took my hand, and I remember.
You probably lay there wishing you would just die.
I was. I had a little piece of newspaper I kept reading over and over and over and trying to get my mind off.
6 months? You were in there 6 months.
7 months.
7 months. Holy crap.
And I ended up getting so infected that I rolled over. I couldn't move, and I remember throwing up. And you had like a foot between the toilet and your bunk. And I fell down in there, and I remember I threw up. And my head was trapped down in that middle, and I was laying on that dirty, filthy floor. I was trying to get my pants off because they were stuck in my leg, and I remember one guy yelling, "You better get this dude, man. You got to get him out of here." I remember the med tech opened the gallon. I just remember I'm going, holy shit. It's Ford the med tech. Saved my life. Got me out of there. He immediately ran me up to the University of Utah. I was so sick. Oof. Boy. And I remember those doctors screaming at the cops, going, "I don't care who you got to call, or what you got to do." For one, I don't know why this guy's in this kind of condition, or what the story is. He's going into surgery immediately. So I remember them hauling me into surgery. And at that point, I lived in their care. They said, we don't care. They were pretty upset. I probably had a hell of a lawsuit against them for neglect.
Oh,
I
sure.
felt like they was really just wanted me to die. Couldn't get colostomy bags and I told you about that guy. His name was Sam Stone. They said, Sam Stone does that. I need to talk to him. I need his more cloth. Well, Sam's not in right now. In the 8 years, I never found Sam Stone, and I've been over to that prison.
You can't.
No, he didn't exist. I don't know why that name, but he's the one I couldn't get colostomy bags from. And
Some made-up name that they...
I don't know if it was or what. Weird. It was just a mind melt. The whole thing was a
Wow.
The whole prison just make you nuts. And I stunk, and once those cloth bags go bad, they're bad. You got to dispose of them, you know. They don't work anymore. They don't stick, and you stink really bad.
Yeah. So, how did you get? I mean, did they just bring meals to you in your cell? Is that?
Yeah, they just bring meals to you. They'd bring me the meals.
How often?
Slide them through the door. They feed you 3 times a day, but sometimes if they were locked down or something happened in the prison, they wouldn't get your food there. You know, waiting 2 hours for your meal when you expect it.
What about like drink? Do they?
You have water. You have water in your cell.
But that's it.
Yeah, and no one knows you can't get any commissary. You can't get in that. But anyway, that Arnold was a horrible experience, and it lasted a long time. But I'm surprised I made it. And how I didn't get MRSA or something. I was so infected and rolling on that dirty floor up there.
Between being infected and then having a colostomy bag, which is tons of bacteria, it's amazing.
I just remember
you made it up.
I finally, after I'd been there quite a while, they let me use the phone. I had to try to get down a flight of stairs. Remember just fucking on down them stairs and everybody on the tears yelling at me, "The stinky fucker out of here. Where's your fucking meds, boy?" Fucking, I'm trying to get on the phone and everybody's screaming at me. I stunk.
Is this your first phone call?
My first phone call.
And who was it with?
My wife, and the first words out of her mouth were, "You fucker. My sister told me you're the biggest drug dealer in Ogden, and you were the go-to guy, and if anybody needed drugs, you were the guy to go see." Dad, and I had no idea. And I'm like, I'd never dealt drugs in my life. I'd used them, but I'd never dealt them. And that was the conversation I had.
Being in a cell where you're sick, you can't get off the floor, you're finally get a phone call, and not like defending her, but she's only hearing what other people are telling her. She don't know what's going on in there.
No idea the condition I was in. I was so sick. I could barely get down to the floor now. All I could do to dial the number, get on the phone, and everybody in the sec, 4 tiers of people yelling at me. Because I stink, they want my meds. They don't give 2 rats ass about you. But, and then you want to talk about hopeless.
Oh, I'm about. I can't.
A sense of self-worth.
I'm gone.
Gone. You're that guy. You're the guy that nobody likes. You're the guy that stinks. You're the most hated guy. You've just thrown your whole life away. Your career, your marriage, and then the worst of the worst thinking you're a piece of shit. It's indescribable feeling. Trying to get back, hung up that phone and the thoughts. So this is my life now. Trying to get back up them stairs. So sick. I hurt so bad. I remember the bullet wounds in my butt hurt so bad. I got infected. Those guys that come over to my door and say, "Give me the fucking meds on this door box. You fucking dead. You dead of that."
Wow.
I'm just...
And when you're talking about these guys are like the worst of the worst.
These are the worst of the worst. These are the guys I'm in there with are the worst because of my charges. At this point, I'm a level 2, but
what were they? What were some of them in there for?
Oh, murder, most of them. Murder, aggravated robbery, killers. A lot of them. Was the worst of the worst. My charges, you're in with the worst of the worst.
Oh.
And they don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody likes you. Nobody cares about you. You're on your own. I was threw my whole life away. I was pretty much wanted to die. I was right at that point that I just, please take me. I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do this. I can't.
7 months you were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm assuming probably it had more surgeries. Maybe in university, you said they were amazing.
Once I become over the university's cares, when they found out how long I'd been in there and the condition that I was in, I was so ill. They were shocked. And I remember the doctor telling me, I don't care, that you'll never be. It's beyond me how you got in that condition, the way, if you'd been there that long.
Wow.
Were they not giving you care? I said, yeah, they'd give me care.
And you were probably being nice about that.
Yeah. You can't mean tell them, okay.
They're like, yeah, okay, we can see
Well,
that.
they put me down to, we'll take a culture of your wound, you know. And they just swapped it. And that was it. And I wouldn't hear from them again.
Wow.
That's the care I got. And then as far as my infections, my clothes would, I'd go through 10 change outs a week, just soaked. I was infected.
Wow.
Then my chest got infected, and then I got sick. That's when I got really ill.
From the time that you got shot and went to the hospital, from then until the time you went to Weber County Jail, and then the time that you went to the prison and was there for 7 months, we're talking 10 months, maybe? Which seems like probably 2 years.
Oh, it was a lifetime.
So you endured all them surgeries and all the illness and the silence of all that isolation for all that time. Then you finally got stronger after, approximately 10 months or whatever. I guess then the decision was made that you were finally being moved out of medical confinement, or I don't know what you guys call it. What was that moment like when the guards came and said it's time to go into population?
I gotta say, it was pretty nerve-wracking from what I've been experiencing at that point, and I knew that now it was over. No more door closed. I'm going in to population, and I knew the clock ran out and where I was at, man, and this is where I was going to be. I was just really hoping that I was going to survive this. I had no idea what population was like. I had no idea what I was going into. I remember the guard looking at me, and he said, "Hey, bud, good luck to you. Good luck with that colostomy bag, because you're going to need it in population." And I was just like, wow. And he says, not only that, well, you're going out to the Okers. I was like, the Okers? He says, yep, for all the knuckleheads are. And how you're a knucklehead. And I was like, wow. It was just an unbelievable experience. Point.
So the full brutal reality of the next 8.5 years.
Everybody was telling me you're probably looking at 10 years. I look back on it now, and I don't even know how I overcame that mindset.
I don't know how you made it through it. Like physically, I mean, mentally too, but physically, as sick as you were, it is a miracle that you're still here.
And I don't take it for granted. One thing I got from that experience is don't take anything for granted. Your life can be taken away in a split second.
So next week on Unbreakable Spirit, obviously Mike's transferred from medical confinement, RNO, and steps into full reality of his prison sentence. We're going to be talking about going into prison cell, coming out for the first time, the daily grind, and the new identity that he had to forge to survive, which was he had to respond to a new name of Reno.
Yeah.
And that's really where the fight for his life gets absolutely real, right?
Yeah. My opening experience, to say the least.
Our next episode will be for mature audiences only, because it'll probably be pretty in-depth, but just want to give you a little heads up about that. But anyway, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our podcast, and we hope that you share it with other people, like it. Go to our website at unbreakablespirit.org. Tell us how we're doing. And if you want more information, you want us to keep going, please respond so we know what we need to do differently or what you want more of. So,
Right. I'll see you guys next time.